What's good? Good morning. I may have already made a video titled this last year. I don't remember. I quickly looked. I didn't see one, but it stands to be made again. I regret voting for Donald Trump in 2024. Uh, I do not identify as a conservative, even though because I live in Seattle, if you're critical of anything progressive, you're automatically a far right, Nazi, conservative, alt right, fascist. You just can't disagree with people in Seattle. It's really unfortunate. But anyways, okay, let me get back on track. I do not identify as a conservative. I've voted for Democrats. I've voted for Republicans. I love voting for libertarians when it is a realistic option. And I think, moving forward, if you're in a similar position that I'm in, where you're just really, really, really unhappy with all the options, you should seriously consider Libertarian Party or alternative parties. I was talking to a coworker who, is one of the, he's a liberal by default because he doesn't question things, because he doesn't research, because he just mainly listens to what his wife says. He's a liberal by default, but even he was like, yeah, this whole two-party system sucks. And ultimately, it would be fantastic to just get away from voting altogether to move towards a global stateless society. That's what I believe the objective should be. Not in a Marxist communist fashion, but more in a Rothbardian anarchism fashion. So freedom, sovereignty, mutual aid, collaboration, cooperation, community, all of those things, all the buzzwords, right? And so it's just different flavors of a goal, of the similar goal. Get rid of the government altogether. Because humans, we don't need government. We need structure, we need order, we need a little hierarchy, but those things are not government. Government is its own unique uh, branding of authority. It's an illegitimate form of authority. But because they've programmed it into so many people's heads that it is a necessity, so many people play the game. And I get it because I too still play the game. Sometimes I still do vote, even though I ultimately don't think it's really going to change things. Uh, I think it will change things this much, which is why sometimes I still do it. And then if you ask me, hold on, if you ask me why I voted for Trump, it was exactly for that little marginal difference that I thought he would bring to the economy and that he would bring to the country in general. I thought he would be just like this much better than a Kamala Harris presidency. And I sit here today and acknowledge I was wrong. This has been, for the first year and a half, not quite a year and a half, but whatever, uh, as bad, if not worse, than maybe what a Harris presidency would have looked like. It's really difficult to speculate. I can just tell you from my lived experience being a Seattleite, the progressive movement, the Democratic Party, does not speak to me at all. It in fact alienates me substantially. I feel so isolated, so alienated, so alone, ostracized. For a group that preaches inclusion, they're very exclusionary. And I say all of this as a homeless individual. So when I say that the Progressive Party and the Democratic Party, they don't care about working class issues anymore, I'm literally a lived experience, a real life example of how they don't care about working class issues anymore. Well, see, the whole thing's a charade, right? So while I'm criticizing the left, the right is no better. The structure itself is awful, which is the conundrum or the paradox that we find ourselves in today, which is that we're living in an extraordinarily corrupt and broken system beyond repair. And so what is a person to do? I That's why I voted for Donald Trump, was because I thought we would get this much of a better situation, and I was wrong. We're cooked, as the kids say. I'm not trying to be a pessimist, because there is a way out. I believe there is a way out. The best path of resistance, I believe, is divestiture from the system as much as possible, because when you divest from a broken, corrupt system, you are no longer complicit in the problems that system promotes, perpetuates, creates. The problems of war and killing and bombing babies, the problems of homelessness and addiction and psychological manipulation to get people to hate each other instead of the real enemy, which is the ruling classes and the elites and the structure as a whole. I'm sorry. And you know what? I think if we flip the sort of flipping the focus, because we're talking about the national level, that's where you can't really do much. But at a local level, I do still think there's opportunity to affect elections that will impact the local direct community. And that's how we can, another way, resist. So you divest from the system. For example, me, I've got 5 acres of land in Tennessee. I'm still paying it off. But once I pay it off, I'm going to build a small off-grid sort of homestead and, yeah, just try not to participate in the various systems that, you kind of have to. I'm trying to be vague here for reasons. But anyways, okay. But then also, I'm considering, fuck, it would be kind of fun to do some local office activities. What would my platform be? The smallest property taxes possible, the most freedom possible. Get the government out of your life and then rebuild the community, quite literally. It's just, I want to empower the community to rebuild itself. There we go. I want to empower any community I become a part of to just rebuild itself. Stop looking to the government, stop looking to the state, stop looking to the city, and start looking to your neighbors. Start looking at yourself and asking yourself, what can you do to contribute? Not to get all Jesus-y on you, but what would Jesus do? He would just go out into his community and do acts of service. And that's what I think you should be doing, and I should be doing. And that's how we can resist in a realistic way as individuals within an extraordinarily corrupt and broken system. Helping your neighbor as resistance. It's maybe less romantic than, or glorious sounding than, a violent revolution. Or just combat and going into battle and for country and people and whatnot. There is a romantic element, as a man at least, like a man who grew up watching like Braveheart, for example. And I'm not entirely opposed to violence. In fact, I do think there is a place for it in the resistance, but I don't think it should actually be the centerpiece of the movement. It should be a peripheral piece. It should be something we're prepared for, but not something that we want. That's just my own personal opinion with the community I'm trying to build. But I got way off subject. This video didn't really touch on specifics, but I'll just acknowledge that this Trump presidency has been absolute dog shit. One of the worst fucking presidencies we've ever seen, and probably the worst script flip of all time. you know, no new wars, we're gonna fix the economy, we're gonna help the working class. Man, Trump ain't done shit but make things worse in the economy, start more wars for his friends in the Middle East. Won't talk about that. Jared Kushner and company, the Epstein people. I said the name, damn it. I'm trying not to say the name because the algorithm does not like that name. But anyways, what do you think, not on a national level, but at a local level, can we still impact change? Is it still worthwhile to participate in a broken system? I'd love your thoughts. Thank you very much. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out the link for merch. Much love.